prepare to cast our votes come November 14th, which is actually the second round. We all had expectation. I strongly believe. Some believe that uh, the ruling party would have succeeded. Some believe that Joseph Boakai would have succeeded. I believe some also believe that Cummins will have succeeded. Unfortunately, it did not happen that way. Uh, Again, I'm going to try to. I was actually going to dwell on this on the third topic here, subtopic, which is who's willing to carry the weight. But I think discussing the topic, what does it really mean to be a Liberian in light of all that we're going through as a nation? 50 years even before the abolition of slave trade. I want to go back to the transatlantic slave trade. Sometimes, like I usually do, go back and give a little historical facts about our country before I start to dwell on the issues. Um, you know, like I said before, we're in a critical time, and I think it's pretty much it's essential that we kind of educate our people. Especially when it comes to uh, these elections that are so pivotal. Now that we only have the presidential election, I think it's pretty clear that a lot of us will be able to go straight to these polls and be able to cast our votes with clarity. No confusion, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of us were confused. So again, I wanted to kind of go back to the transatlantic slave trade and then just talk about 50 years, even before the abolition of the slave trade. The leaders of America were kind of concerned and began to ask the question of what would we do with the slaves after this abolition of slave trade. Now that was a major question because a lot of leaders did not foresee a multiracial state. And so the goal and objective was to ensure that blacks were free slaves were shipped off of the country. And so what happened just around 1816, the American Colonization Society already that was already put together by leaders of America, pretty much to actually get these slaves somewhere, if not Central America, for the most part, maybe their motherland, somewhere in Africa. And so they went ahead and then secure a plot somewhere on the west coast of Africa, as we all know. That plot was pretty much the size of the plot was just about 36 miles by 3 miles. And today, Liberia is a little over 38,300 plus square miles. So now they've gone down there about 1821. The plot has already been secured. 1822, the land is founded, and then just about 1841, that colony, Liberia's first colony, actually was the governor was Joseph Jenkins Roberts, who was a free born slave from Virginia. And so now Liberia gained her independence somewhere around 1847. But this is what happened. America did not even acknowledge or even recognize Liberia as a country until 1862. And we know the reason why, because of the Civil War in America. And the definition of Liberia actually means liberty. And I think the reason why I wanted to bring this to the fore is because it's critical for us to understand why this country was founded and what is the definition of Liberia. If Liberia signifies, or the definition of Liberia is pretty much freedom, I want to ask the question: are we free? Are you free? Are we free? And I think the answer to that question is pretty obvious. We are not free. Our people have been subjugated. Our people have been subjected have been oppressed. We have been deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We've been deprived of just the basic essentials of life. And I think that's important for all of us kind of pay key attention to, because if we can come to the realization to know that that country that was founded was founded purposely for free slaves, for people who were pretty much free from captivity. And so the real question again is, are you free? You are not free. Going back from 1847 to 1979, 2005, or now 2023, look at the condition of our people. Look at your condition. A lot of our people cannot even afford a single square meal before you talk about 3 square meal. And what really interesting about Liberia is this, and I think I want you to kind of pay keen attention to that, because during the transatlantic slave trade, the blacks were the only group of people that was sold to captivity, and that captivity, that slave trade or slavery lasted for exactly 400 years. And I want to point something out, because if you read a Bible, the Bible that you read, think about it. The people who were sold to Egypt, in captivity, they were in slavery. Actually, the slavery lasted for 400 years. And that's something interesting about the country Liberia, because it's funny. It actually came to me that Liberia is actually the chosen land, the land of the free. That's the promised land. These people, slaves, were in captivity for 400 years. And after 400 years, they were given their freedom. And can you imagine that? And so I want you to understand that we are not ordinary people. Liberians are not ordinary people. And then to take it a step further, with everything that has been happening in recent time, the back and forth, the conflicts, the confusion, people saying this about this person, that about that person, does it really represent who Liberians are? Is this the kind of Liberia that we want? Is this the kind of Liberia that we have envisaged or thought about? I don't think so. If Liberia means to be free, then we must, all of us, must kind of put ourselves in the position to ensure that we are fighting for the liberation of our people. We are pretty much wrestling with civil liberty and no rights, limited liberty in the land of liberty. So now we have to pretty much confront the most powerful and not try to scapegoat the vulnerable. And I think that's exactly what's happening. So we need to rise up, we need to stand up and ensure that our people are set free. Now, let's take it to the next question, or the next topic, focusing on the big picture, that is Mama Liberia, as we cast our vote. The Quran says one thing: by no means can no man gain righteousness except he freely gives those things that he loves. I see a lot of us here, we're more about tribes, we're more about ethnicity, we're more about ourselves. And what we need to do as a people here is to ensure that we are putting country first, and that is to put Mama Liberia first. So as you go ahead to cast your ballot or to cast your votes come November 14th, it is important. It is important that you put this country first. And what do I mean by putting the country first? Is to put the masses first. We must cross tribal lines. We must cross nepotism. We must cross elitism. That is, tribal line. If you're a Bassa man, it doesn't necessarily mean that if a Bassa guy is not qualified, then you have to, just because he's a Bassa person means that you have to elect that guy into office. If the guy is Mandingo or if she's Mandingo, does not necessarily mean that you have to elect her in that office if she's not competent. We should be making the decision, our votes should be cast based on the nation, on the masses, on what's right. Our votes should be cast. You should cast your vote based on the truth, based on sincerity, based on honesty, based on the masses, the people that are, especially for those of you who have crossed over. I don't want to say this over and over because all of us have a responsibility, especially for those of you who have crossed over. You know, our people have been locked up in chains. I cannot have this conversation without kind of, you know, just kind of giving you an insight as to how and why we need to set our sights higher. Liberia, Mama Liberia should be put first. We have to reclaim our culture, our tradition. We have to reclaim, you know, our economic and social status. A lot of our people now have become beggars. A lot of our people now have become destitute. A lot of our people have become, you know, you know, they have become complete beggars. Is this the kind of country that we want? Is this the kind of country that we envisage? Is this the kind of country that we imagine? Especially finding ourselves in the 21st century. We are living like we're living in the pre-dynastic period. I think life in the pre-dynastic period was even more, probably more sophisticated than we are living. Our people are living like cannibals. Our people are living like animals. All the fights, all the humiliation, the constant humiliation. And so, again, going back, for those of you who have just tuned in, you're watching the We2R Liberians movement platform, your one and only distinct platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing players, pimps, and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Now, who is willing to carry the weight is the next question. And that brings me to a story about two brothers who find themselves trying to get to a place called Bostown, a place of education, knowledge, you know, and good life. They had to catch train, they had to catch buses. After it is that they have gotten on the last train as close as possible to Boys Town, the younger brother said he was tired and could not make it the rest of the journey. The other brother then bent over and said to the younger brother, "Get on my back." As they got as close as possible to Boys Town, this higher institution of learning, the provost of that university, actually of the college, met them halfway and said to the elder brother, "Put your brother down." The other brother then looked at the provost in righteous indignation and said, "He is my brother." And that's exactly what we need. Who is willing to carry the weight is the question. You know, a lot of us now, as soon as you come over to the United States, you know, you acquire wherever you have acquired. It doesn't matter what you did. Go back. You want to be representative. You want to be a senator. You want to be a president. But who is willing to make the sacrifice? Which one of us? Because I'm included. I'm not going to exclude myself. Which one of us which one of us is actually willing to carry this weight, to make the sacrifice, to lay down him or herself for the furtherance, for the upliftment of this country? You know, we have our people have become destitute, like I said. Our people have become, I mean, just think about it. Basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. Our people cannot even afford it. And no, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Let's talk about food, clothing, and shelter. That's the first level of needs. That's exactly where a lot of our people are. Second level of needs, belonging. Everyone needs some kind of companion. I'm pretty sure it's easy to find that. But who will get to that place of self-actualization? We are not creating the opportunity. We are not creating the environment for our people to have such opportunity. And so it's important. I wanted to talk to, and this is the true final call. That's the overall topic for these three subtopics. What does it really mean to be a Liberian? And that's why, you know, the likes like the Brown, Lysander Brown, whoever, you know, who oversaw the elections. I cautioned them a couple of weeks ago. They have to stop playing with the future of our children. Because God sends a decree of death on any nation whose bad outweighs its good. But guess what? He sends someone, to give them a window of opportunity. And that window of opportunity is to repent. Liberia has an opportunity now to repent, especially those in leadership. And I want to also say, not only to those, because the real truth is, whatever's going on in Liberia now is actually evil versus good. And so we must all read between the lines to ensure that we are correcting those wrongs. Because the term Liberia, the name Liberia, actually means liberty. And so think about it as you go now to cast your ballot. Are you free? Are you free? Are you free? Are you getting quality education? If you're ill, are you getting proper medical treatment? If you're not part of the elite, you may not be able to sustain yourself or survive that medical situation. For those of those individuals who have the opportunity, will get their family out of that country, go seek medical attention outside. And so it is important that we kind of sit down and think about who we really are. Liberia is the land of liberty. Are we free? Are we free? Are you getting quality education? Do you have good health care? Do you have affordable housing? Do you have access to employment? Is there an opportunity to grow, to reach your full potential? Those are questions that we need to be asking. And if you are not achieving or accomplishing, or those questions are not being answered, then you are not free. And that implies that if you go to cast your ballot, now you go to cast your vote, you need to read between the lines, because what we are here to do is to point you in the right direction. I can't make any decision for you, but I can ensure that I am pointing you into the direction so that when you go that day, you have pretty much a week and a day to think about what I'm saying before you go now to cast your vote. You have to think about it critically. And what I'm saying here is not because of you. You have to not only think about yourself, but think about the people that are going to come after you. I am going to sound redundant at some point because it has to resonate. The book says that faith comes by hearing and hearing the word. The Quran says, by no means can no man gain righteousness except he freely gives those things that he loves. And so until we can make the sacrifice, until we can lay ourselves down, we are not going to be free. People have used the pen and the paper to sway our imagination. They continue to use cash violence. That was in my last life, and I have to repeat it because we're in that time and season. So Liberia actually means to be free. Liberia means to be free. Liberia is the promised land, if you don't believe it. Because Liberia was not a country until free slaves went there. Those who were in captivity for 400 years. It's synonymous to what happened in the Bible. And Liberia is the chosen country. I can say with equivocation that Liberia is going to rise. And I know some of us don't even foresee that happening during our time. But you know what? We have to make the sacrifice, and that answers the question, who is willing to carry the weight? We have to put ourselves in the position now to make the sacrifice. We all have to start teaching, each one help one, and raise the level of consciousness of our people. Please, as you go now to cast your vote, focus on the big picture. Focus in on the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is Mama Liberia, There's no room for excuse. Make no excuse. We know that you went there before, you cast your vote. Unfortunately, whatever the outcome was, now you have an opportunity to choose between two. You want to choose the most qualified. You want to choose the one who has integrity. You want to choose the one who has love for country, one who is willing to make the sacrifice, one who is willing to improve the quality of your life, one who is willing to ensure that there is freedom, justice, and equality. I don't want to bore you today. I want to be as brief as possible. And that's why I came on, because I know that there's a lot of platforms that a lot of people are on, but we need to educate our people. We need to conscientize our people. We need to sensitize and desensitize our people so that they can be emancipated from captivity. Mental captivity, our people are still suffering from the remnants of colonization. And so we need to be decolonized. I have to speak on the topic, the three subtopics. Again, the overall topic here is the true final call. What does it really mean to be a Liberian in light of all that we are going through? Focusing on the bigger picture, that is Mama Liberia, as you cast your vote come November 14. And so again, I say there's no more room for excuse, no room. There's no reason why. And don't make the mistake because one representative in your area, I've said that from time to time, because he's sponsoring two of your relative kids or he's sponsoring your kid. Know now that whatever he's giving you is your entitlement, because you are entitled to the national cake. That is not the representative or the senator's responsibility. The responsibility of the government is to create an opportunity. We also have a responsibility, because Lincoln asked the question, so not only what can your country do for you, but what can you also do for your country? And that's why it's important for us to equip ourselves. But that can be another topic. So now going back to the third topic, who is willing to carry the weight? Who is willing to carry the weight? And I'm pretty sure that all of us here are willing now. Thinking about all that we've been through, Liberia means to be liberated. Liberia means to be free. Liberia is the promised land. And I see Liberia becoming better. I see Liberia being raised from the pit. I see Liberia rising again. So as you go now to cast your votes, come November 14, 2023, make sure you are casting your vote for the most qualified, for the most competent, for the one who has integrity. And the most qualified is not the one who has all the accolades, the one who has the fastest bank account, not the one who has the flashy cars, not the one who has the biggest house on the block, or the ones who are wearing all the bling bling, but the one who is sensitive to the wrongs, to the injustices of society, who is willing to accept responsibility for those wrongs and correcting them. And Dr. King and those females that cross the Pettus Bridge down south did not cross that bridge because they wanted to be seen on television. They did that. Dr. King and his compatriots, they did that because they wanted to correct a gross wrong. And that is equivalent to one or people that were willing to carry the weight. Where we are today, the opportunities that we have them because people made the sacrifice. People made the sacrifices. Someone got whooped. So with the courage, and it was the courage of our ancestors, it was the courage of our ancestors that actually, that moral force of our ancestors that give Dr. King and those women the strength to cross that bridge, Because right across that bridge where law enforcement officers would tear gas and billy clubs, but yet they did that because they wanted to see equitable justice. They were fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. So to conclude, as we go now to cast our vote, three things I need you to think about. This is now the true final call. What does it really mean to be a Liberian? To be a Liberian does not mean that you have to squander funds. To be a Liberian does not mean that you have to acquire huge, maybe some kind of amass huge wealth or whatever. To be a Liberian does not mean that you have to to commit atrocities. Rather, to be a Liberian means to be free. So we must strive to be in the business of emancipating and liberating our people. So now go November 4th, you have to focus on the bigger picture. And that bigger picture is Mama Liberia. So think more on the nationalistic level. Do not think about self. Do not think about Mandingo. Do not think about Loma. Do not think about Bassa. Do not think about Gribble. You have to break free from that limitation. Think Liberia. You should be thinking Liberia. Liberia should be first. And so I'm calling on everyone, even our tribal chiefs, clients or whatever, we all need to come together now as a unit and form stronger unions, form a strong union. Because if we do that, Liberia is going to be one. I want to say to my brother Costa, brother Stanton, you guys are brothers. No matter what the situation, I think we should be examples. Let us not get all caught up in this whole politics or whatever, and then get lost in the sauce, because we got to go back now. What's happening to our tradition? What's happening to our culture? Who is willing to carry the weight? And that's part of it. We cannot allow the things of this world to confuse us so that we trash our culture and our tradition because we want to amass wealth. Because you know what? We want to amass some kind of social status, whatever. We must ensure that we are pitching integrity. We are promoting integrity. We are promoting love, tranquility, peace. And the only way we can do that is if we're willing to carry the weight. So I want to say to you today, all of you who are under the sound of my voice, and those of you who are going to be watching this live subsequently, I say, let us all come together for the sake of this great country, this land of liberty, sweet Liberia, for the sake of our children that are going to come after us, the people that are going to come after us. Let us lay ourselves down until we can make the sacrifice. Kwame Nkrumah did that. Gerald Rawlings did that. Nelson Mandela did that. A host of other leaders did that. Dr. King did that. Malcolm X, he took one. Dr. King took one in the neck. Malcolm X was killed. We're talking about your civil rights, your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have not come here to be treated like trash. You're only here for a time in the season. So those of you, to him who much is given, much is required. The more you have, the more is expected of you to give back. You cannot just have all the knowledge. Some of you have 3-4 master's degrees. It's time now that we all come together. We got to stop the act of divisiveness. Has become so pervasive and evasive. We all need to come together. And until we're willing to carry the weight, until we're willing to make that sacrifice, until we're willing to lay down ourselves, Liberia is never going to be better. Who can we look back now on and say, we have one that we can look at as a noble example? We haven't had one. We have not had one. And this is our perfect opportunity. And I strongly believe that one is going to rise. One is going to come up. And that's why the We2R Liberians movement is targeting now the talented 20 or 50, socially and morally conscious young men. We've not even identified them yet. They have not been born. But we strongly believe that they're coming up. That will be born to take over that country. Again, you're watching the We2R Liberians movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing place pimps and hustlers. Rather, we are in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Again, I'd like to go over all of our topics, our subtopics. Our overall topic for tonight was the true final call. What does it really mean to be a Liberian in light of all that we are going through or have gone through as a people? Second subtopic, focusing on the big picture or the bigger picture, which is Mama Liberia as you cast your vote come November 14th. No room for excuse. Again, I may sound redundant, but Morehouse College has a fraternity creed title. That fraternity creed says that excuses are tools for the incompetence used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. We have an opportunity now. We have an opportunity to lay ourselves down. And lastly, our last subtopic is who is willing to carry the weight. And this concludes tonight's edition of our show. I have been your host, Ayiti Williams. This is the We2R Liberians movement platform, your distinct and dynamic platform that speaks to and for the masses. We are not in the business of manufacturing place pimps and hustlers. Rather, we're in the business of changing and revolutionizing the thought process of our people, not only in Liberia, but even around the world. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you. Have a great, blessed day. Bye.